I'm Maria Menounos, and you're tuned in to AfterBuzz TV, the ESPN of TV talk. Now, let the buzz begin.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this glorious Friday. I'm your host, Adam Carr. This is Horribly Hollywood Singles, some of the worst dating stories told by some of the best guests in Hollywood. If you're just joining us, what do we do on this show? We talk about bad dates. Why? Because everybody has them. Even during a pandemic, people still have shitty dates that they want to talk about. And as long as they have those, I will be here listening to your crap. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to welcome a very special guest today. She is the Maragrita Mama from Buenos Aires. She has done stand-up all over Los Angeles and the country. She's a relationship coach / guru who is featured on Steve Harvey. She has an incredible book, Love at First Acts. Ladies and gentlemen, Grace Fraga. Grace, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Wow, what an intro. I appreciate it.
I tried to memorize it as best I could. I hope I hit all the important stuff, but you're a fantastic guest. Look at the breadth of work you have. It's great to have you.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. You're an awesome host.
Right now I'm batting 10 for 10, but it's the first 30 seconds. Give me 10 minutes, 15 minutes. I just start slurring my words, swearing at the wall. I start talking to myself like, hey, what's up? So anyway, Grace, how have you been doing first off during, pandemic, quarantine, COVID-19? How are you? How's everything?
Well, things are well. I started talking to myself in the mirror, insulting myself. Apparently that's like a therapy, you should try it. It
You're
works.
an actress. Yeah.
That's how bored I am. But it's been fine. It's so weird because I didn't know that I was a little bit of a hermit. I have an inner hermit. So I'm kind of enjoying being in my apartment by myself and just talking to people on Zoom or, FaceTime. So it was, I think it's a nice break, especially from dating.
Yeah.
Because you can't meet people in person, which completely changes everything, because then you make out with the person and that it can go downhill because it can just blur your judgment.
Do you find that helps, that people can't get as physical or as intimate right away, that they're spending more time now actually talking to each other and deciding if they want to be in the same room with that person? Or do you think that's not necessarily dating anymore, or we're redefining all of that? What do you view it in COVID-19?
Well, I think that out of this experience, people are going to either come out better people or worse people. But I think 90% we're all going to be better people, including dating. Because I find I'm talking to I shouldn't say, I hope they're not watching, 3 guys, right?
I'm always
there goes my 3 guys.
Let it out.
Oh, who cares? Fuck it. So yeah, I'm talking to 3 guys, on a solid, 4. The other one is, the 4th one is kind of every couple of days, but the other ones are every day, right? Mm-hmm. And I find that, first of all, I get to know them better on a more, you can say, spiritual level, rather than just being in their presence and the physicality of everything gets in the way. Mm-hmm. So I get them to know better, and also they get me to know better, because guys usually like to rush things because they have one thing in mind, usually, not all of them, but 99.999.
Blood can only go in one direction, Grace. It's either up or down. So it just depends, I'd say, on when you're catching them, on the upswing or a ravenous rage. I'm not sure.
Totally. Well, usually if you go on a date, you click, it's going to be an upswing. It's just, right. Yeah. And downhill from there sometimes. It's the upswing and then downhill. So I think that, the interesting thing was, there's this experiment show called was it the Love Box or something? No, what was it? That they love pods, Yeah. I can't remember the name of the show, but I watched the whole thing.
Was it Love at First Sight?
No, yeah. Wasn't it Love at First Sight on Netflix?
They don't see each other. They talk. They're allowed to touch certain things, but then they don't see each other until the very end.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I feel like that's quarantine. It was kind of like a prophetic show, because that's what's happening. And you do get to know the person better. You become more honest. I find I'm more honest, and I'm not putting on a show, but not showing my best side. It's like I'm showing the whole thing because I really don't give a shit. It's like I'm stuck in my house, you know? It's like, if you don't like me, I can't do anything about it anyway. So it's like, I don't care. So I think it's actually going to change dating a little bit if you were kind of talking to people during this quarantine, because I feel like it's better to know the person and to wait to be a little physical with them. You get to know them and then you decide, you make more informed decisions rather than just an impulse or an attraction. Which, you know, it gets in the way. I'm going to be honest. I can't, you know, some people can just go without being physical for like a year or months. And it's kind of hard, you know, if you like somebody and you click. But at the same time, if you go too fast, then, you know, you discover things like, oops, they're married. Right? Yeah. So in quarantine, like if they're married, it's not going to happen.
Experiences talking to a married man during quarantine who has the balls to try and talk to someone while they're married?
Oh, they do. Oh, you have no idea. Oh, yeah. They don't care. A lot of women and men, you know, they do that. So, and they don't tell you, of course, because that's kind of like a deal breaker if you're looking for somebody, you know, not a married person.
Yeah. So if you're talking to someone that's married during quarantine, right? Like, I'm in an apartment right now. I share it with my fiance, and so do they just talk to you when the other person isn't there? Do they talk to you in like the closet, and it's kind of hushed tones at 1 a.m. and they're like, "Hey, I'm just trying to be quiet right now." Like so did they tell you that they're married, or did you figure it out? Walk me through the process of this, because that's, to me, that's fascinating that you could. People are so desperate to either, I don't know for what, because you can't even meet and have sex right now unless you want to, but that you risk blowing up your marriage just so that you could have the thrill of talking to someone, or what do you view it as?
Yeah, well, there is somebody that I was talking to who is in the, actually their divorce went through, and he was still living at the house with the ex. So I was like, is he still, you know, banging her, or what the hell is going on? It was very muddy. So I was like, hey, I'll talk to you like a friend, but I don't want to get involved with you because show me the divorce papers. And he did. He showed me the divorce papers. And then I was like, if you want to continue to talk to me, I don't feel comfortable that you're living there, you know? And I was on the on the laptop with him on Zoom, like I'm talking to you now.
She's just walking around in the background, making herself a snack. Like, don't worry about it.
No, he was like in a different room. Apparently he's living in that room. I'm not sure if that's true. Let's leave him, right? So the ex-wife or the whatever opened the door and the laptop went. Oh,
no, well then you know.
I know. And it's like,
no. I'm not married. I can totally, boom.
Exactly. It's like, if you're not married, why did you do that? What's going on? Well, she still needs to get adjusted to the idea. I'm like, bitch, really?
Yeah. And I just wear this wedding ring because I really like
right. I like jewelry.
Yeah. I just love gold. 24 karat. Feels so good, especially during this pandemic. Wow, that's amazing.
I know.
Yeah, I'm always amazed by how much people are willing to fuck up something just for the chance to see. And I feel like Los Angeles in general is the capital of the fuck ups, because even, you know, I'm not sure what age range you date, but my favorite thing is finding like these guys who are, you know, they're like into their 40s, their 50s. They're just, you know, they're maybe 10 or 15 years younger than my dad, but they act like they're in college still. And they're just very, you know, wearing just like the ripped jeans, and they're, you know, they're trying so hard to be something that they're not, but you're just, do you constantly deal with that, or what's your age range? What do you look for, especially during this?
Well, anywhere from 35 to dead, I'm good.
So he could be a real swinging 80-year-old, but if he's got the mojo, you're good.
Listen, I don't discriminate with age. But the thing is, you know, I don't want anybody. Well, I actually did date somebody in their late 20s. So I really don't discriminate. I think it's a soul connection, to be honest. It's not about age. The age thing is you had the same references and maybe the same kind of experiences. But I found, like you're saying, you know, guys in their 40s, 50s, or even 60s, they're like immature. And the guy, I dated somebody who was 27, and he was way more mature, like an old soul, than all these other guys.
There you go.
So yeah, so it really it's all about the person and the soul and their attitude and their spirit.
Yeah. Well, that was a very nice, mature response. I thought you were going to really just air some dirty laundry there, but you took the high road. That was very nice. Very nice. So, first off here, loved your book, Love at First X.
Thank you.
I was reading some things about it that I thought, I dated a girl briefly. It wasn't a very long or great relationship. I should give you my thing was I used to just be drunk all the time, and I was on dating apps. I was on like 7 or 8 dating apps.
Wow.
Briefly went out with like a sex addict. I got blackmailed once on Filipino Cupid by a gold digger who had a bunch of nasty videos of me and was trying to get some money out of me, or she was going to send stuff to my Facebook friends and family. I briefly went out with a girl named Virgin Lupus, which is the nickname my friends assigned her, which, I mean, I was a real piece of work. But there was one particular thing I was looking at with you that was talking about your exes, and it reminded me of a story that I've talked about here once, where it was a Valentine's Day, and I had broken up with Virgin Lupus back in like around New Year's, and it was Valentine's Day, and I'm just drinking my sorrows at an ArcLight. I'm like 4 martinis in, and I'm ordering, another shot of Jameson just to get warmed up, and I decided to text her because I'm thinking about all the good times, which you write specifically. Don't think about the good times, and don't start thinking about how much you miss certain little things, or asking them, can we connect? Like, how are you? Like, and I did all of those things in one night, and it was a bad. One of her friends was texting back like, dude, move on, leave her alone, peace. Like, and I just went off the deep end and just had a total meltdown. So what do you find now? Because my feeling is a lot of people. Oh, did I lose you?
No, no, now I got you. It froze for a second, sorry.
Oh, no worries, sorry. Sometimes the Zoom got screw us over, but we're good. We'll keep going. Thank you, though.
In general, it's pretty good.
Yeah? All right, got it. So I feel like right now you have a lot of single people, especially like in this city, who are, they're lonely, they're scared, and most likely they're craving some type of connection. And I feel like the safest thing for a lot of people is just physical connection. It doesn't take a lot of mental energy to get there, but it makes you feel safe. It makes you feel good and close to someone.
Sure.
So what do you say to all these people who are probably going back to the good memory box, even though they shouldn't be? And they're starting to text their ex. They're starting to get lonely. They're starting to get, it's been like 60 something days now. So if certain people haven't had sex, they're probably horny as shit. Like,
yes, they are.
People, it's the equivalent of walking around with an emotional loaded gun. So what do you say to all these people in the midst of Corona that, like, you can't just start doing that because you're going to be even worse off than before?
Absolutely. Yeah, I call it the quarantine thirst, right? The quarantine thirst. It's craving not only for a physical connection, but you want to connect with people, because we lose human touch, really, human everything. It's different to connect on Zoom than to connect in person. And yes, I've had exes calling me, especially my first husband is calling me, and he's questioning, like, why did we get divorced? I don't even remember why. And I'm like, I do remember why. Let me tell you why.
Here's the book of why we got divorced right here.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's, as a friend, he's great. But if I cross the line, then it would be a mess, because I would probably lose him as a friend, or mess things up and confuse things. So yeah, refrain from going. It's very familiar to go to an ex, because the drill, kind of, emotionally, physically, what's up.
Yeah.
But it might, in some cases, and probably 90% of the cases, mess your life up. Don't let the quarantine thirst get in the way of your happiness.
So if I'm understanding you correctly, the metaphor I would use is like if you were stuck at sea on a raft.
Yeah.
And you're just in the middle of the ocean.
Yeah.
And you're thirsty as hell, and you just want to drink some of the salt water because you think it's going to quench your thirst, and you think it's going to make everything better. When in effect, it's going to make you sicker. It's going to make you die actually a lot faster. So would you say it's kind of like Corona is like this giant sea that we can't drink from, and people are just sitting on these rafts kind of afloat, just not knowing what the hell to do. I'm trying to find the silver lining here, but I'm not sure if I can find it. I don't know necessarily if there is one, but I'm trying to give people at least some semblance of hope that, like, you know, things will get better. Hopefully as people have their quarantine bubbles, whatever they do moving forward. But I think a lot of us, especially in this city, we crave attention and we crave people and their energy. And like, I'm like, thank God I live with someone, because she keeps me sane. I'd be bouncing off the walls right now, I think, if I wasn't with her. But I know that a lot of people aren't that fortunate and they're trying to figure out what to do. So first off, I'm going to recommend get your book, Love at First Act, because it was very nice. Like, it actually like calmed me a bit just to like read through some stuff, because especially now, I don't know about you, every once in a while, I'll have just like a mini little panic attack, just thinking about what's going on, the situation, the country, my job, things moving forward. Like, there's all these questions right now. There's all these variables that we don't have the answer to.
There are all these unknowns, you know, and what I would say is this is a good opportunity for us to go within rather than, you know, rely on the people that surround us. Yes, we need human contact and connection, but if you go within, maybe your priorities might change. And I notice a lot of people are going through that. A lot of my friends are going through it, where their priorities have changed and they realize what's really important in life. And I had a friend, actually, she said she's moving to Florida close to her family because she realized that that's what's important to her. This quarantine kind of made her realize that. So use this time to get more within and see what you really want, if it aligns with what you're doing, and also be more productive. I think being productive kind of takes attention away from, oops, I can't go out with anybody, I can't have sex, I can't, you know, do all these things that are fun and I do, you know, when I'm not in quarantine. Yeah, and that's what I've chosen to do. And I tell you, it's not only rewarding, but it has also changed my priorities, and it kind of gave me a peace because I was like, do everything, you know, it's like, I got to do this and plan this and go there and be social, blah, blah, blah. And I was just overbooking myself and I was exhausted. And now I have so much peace because I can rest. I don't have this kind of hamster, you know, in a wheel kind of thing going. And so I always believe that you can turn anything, the most negative thing, the most rock bottom thing, into a positive. So if you have that mentality and that attitude, then this is not going to be a horrible experience. It's going to actually be an experience where you can grow.
I love what you said there. That's something I honestly, I was like, what's the answer? And you're like, no, just look within. Like, you have all the answers that you need. You don't need to go out. And I think it's very true what you said. We're such a busy culture, and we're constantly like doing this as we're trying to pay attention to what's actually here, but we're just stuck in this freaking thing. And that's not happening anymore. That's stopped. That, like, we have our screens. I'm sure we're all glued to like our TV screens at home or different stuff, but I feel like because we had to stop the whole, you know, you talk about the hamster on the wheel, the whole wheel just spun off its axle, like it's done. So as that inches back to some type of normalcy, it'll be interesting to see what people put as a priority, because I think what you're saying best is that if you put yourself as the priority, and if you really just focus on you, and if you stay busy, if you get organized, your goals, what do you want to do? Like, so many people, all I've heard is like, oh my God, you know, for the last 5 years, I kept saying, well, if I only had 3 months, if I only had 6 months, if I only had just a month off, I want to do this. And I'm like, well, this is your time. Exactly. Now you have it. So it's a shitty, horrible, bad funk of a time. Absolutely.
Yes, 100%.
But unfortunately, we can't get rid of it by talking about how pissed off we are. So you do have to kind of just, you know, get up every day, put another foot in front of the other, and try what you're doing. And that's really great advice, because I really just went back with the X stuff. I just went to Positiveville, and it just completely spun me out of control, and then had me going, great, well, why'd we break up? And finally, and I remember like the next day I was like, oh my God, you said all this stuff and you did all the, you idiots, like you loser. So I just couldn't believe I like did all that stuff, but it is what it is. So Grace, you talked a little bit before about talking to a married guy in quarantine. Walk us down memory lane here. Is there one particular date or a relationship in general, or just something that you just kind of wanted to talk shit about, but just haven't had the platform? I want to give you that time.
Oh,
we talk about bad dates here. Yeah, you go for it. Whatever you want, blame and throw it.
Oh, that's great. Well, my worst relationship experience, if you want to know, was with somebody who's kind of known, and he was a narcissistic abuser.
Oh boy.
Yeah. So, but you know, the narcissist, what they do is they reel you in, right? And so they gain your trust and they flatter you to no end, which I am a sucker for flattery. It's like they call me pretty. I'm like, you know, like a puppy dog. Yeah, it's stupid. But so he reeled me in, and then when we moved in together 9 months after we started dating, he completely switched. Okay, because that's what they do. It's like a bait and switch, right? They reel you in, they switch. They still keep some of that personality that, you know, when you met them, that fun personality, but then they switch on you, and they can be triggered by the stupidest shit.
Yeah.
Oh, you know, like you didn't wash that cup. Oh, why? You know, you need to wash your cup. It's like, wait, what? The fuck is this? Yeah. So that was like the worst. And I do rant about it and I bitch about it. And it's been like 8 years. Broke up 8 years ago. And since then, let me tell you, I have PTSD from that. And I was unable to have like a relationship longer than maybe 10 months.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Was he like a drinker? Was like any type of substance? So it was just naturally him. Yeah,
he was naturally an asshole. Yeah.
Jesus. Was it kind of like Sleeping with the Enemy? So like just the seemingly really nice guy, and then just was total Jekyll and Hyde psycho. Yeah. Like you didn't hang up the towels correctly and neatly in the order. Like don't you care about me and these fucking towels? Oh man.
Yeah. And yelling at you, it's like a switch, you know. You're like, all of a sudden you wake up and he found anything. He would be nice maybe for a little bit, and then he would find something that I said, and I didn't even know what I said to trigger him, and he would just switch. So that experience really messed me up, because my mom, I think had borderline personality. I'm not sure, but she might have, and she was not taking medications, obviously. So there's that switch, you know, that she used to do. Like she was nice, and then boom, something triggered her and she would switch on me, so I grew up with that. So this experience kind of brought all that up, which in a way was good because I had to deal with it. But in another way wasn't great, because it's very hard for me to trust, you know, after that experience. I think like the only way that I would be in a relationship is with someone that I become friends with first, and then trust them so much and see who they really are, and see that their behavior doesn't change.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
what's your time frame then that you have to do? You like, how long do you give someone the psycho test now to make sure? Like
10 years.
10 years. I would have said 8, but you know what? Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, an extra 2.
Yeah. Well, something interesting that you brought up before, the fiance and I are making our way through The Sopranos right now, which I've never seen before, so loving it. But one of the interesting things I find is that Tony Soprano, the main guy, he keeps finding women that are reminiscent of his mother, that like, you know, the hard to please, the emotionally abusive, the kind of bipolar. So I'm curious then, do you find that based on your experience that a lot of times if we have issues, unresolved issues, maybe subconsciously, I'm sure with our parents, I could be the mom or dad either way, but do you find that if we didn't deal with those appropriately as we got older, we still tend to seek it and find it as adults, and then we kind of go, why am I still going after this type of person or something like, but do you find the answer tends to lie in our parents?
Oh, 100%. I think there's two facets to it. First of all, we are attracted to those people because it's familiar to us. So for example, with this guy, his anger and jealousy to me was, oh, he loves me. How fucked up is that? Okay.
Yeah. Well, at least you know now, at least you know, and you can, give someone else the blueprint to save some time. But yeah, it's funny though, how we do that, right? They're like, oh, like if someone gets that crazy or fucked up, if you're not, you're like, oh, they must really care about me. Like, look how fucked up they're going. Like, I clearly hit something. If they didn't care, they would have just walked away. Like, that's what they didn't abuse me or they weren't terrible. Then obviously I didn't do the right thing because they wouldn't have cared enough to go.
Isn't that terrible? Yeah. And I think a lot of people grow up in some kind of abusive environment, whether they realize it or not, because just being human with dysfunctional to the very least, the dysfunctional environment. But the other thing I was going to tell about relationships, first of all, we're attracted because it's familiar. And then I think subconsciously we also seek those people because we want to heal our wounds. And so these people bring up all those wounds and you can see them and you're like, oh shit, I better start sewing this, and putting some disinfectant here and just, so I become whole again. Because, it's kind of like an attraction and to the familiar and a healing desire to heal. I think there's always a subconscious desire in everything we do.
That's interesting. Yeah, that you would bring up the same type of conflict, but maybe then it's easier to deal with a person your own age instead of this domineering presence like your parent, which sometimes is too hard to deal with because when you're with them, it's like you're a little kid all over again. So it's really hard. Like for me, every time I go back to Cleveland, I always feel like I'm 15. Like I always feel like I need to ask my parents for a ride. Like I can't get somewhere on my own.
Right.
And like, I'm not allowed to drink. And like, I'm not, I'm always like, oh, like what? Like I always, after a couple days, they'll start talking to me again. Like I'm in high school again, it's funny how we kind of slide back into a similar feeling, but that's very interesting. Yeah. That if you don't figure that out, you keep finding it. And then especially I feel like now, to still seek, especially right now where you don't know what's going on or who's out there, different people, it's got to be even crazier.
Completely. And it's, a lot of people come with baggage and what happens is a lot of guys I notice react emotionally, and I am beyond that right now because of the experience I went through with this guy. It was like everything was emotional and there was no reasoning. And so when I see somebody who's reacting emotionally, it's like, okay, let me step back. Okay. I'm not going to engage in this emotional, clusterfuck.
Yeah.
And I'm going to step back. I'm going to think about it. I'm going to try to calm my anger or my fear, or whatever I'm feeling. I'm going to think about it and then I'll go and talk to you. But the problem is sometimes the other person is not ready and they're still hang up on the unforgiveness and the anger and the fear. And so I think that as you become healthier and you're healing, you need to find somebody who is also at that point in their life where they've healed a lot of stuff and they're still healing, so that you can talk to them rationally rather than reactively. Does that make sense?
Yes, I think talking rationally is one of the things I had to learn most because I was, I think, just sensitive growing up. And I was one of those actors that, it's one of those kids doing a lot of musical theater. And if you've ever seen musical theater kids in high school, I wasn't one of those singing at lunch, but, it's very incestuous, especially like in college. Everyone's screwing everybody and it's all very messy, but it's all very like, you don't know what this means. And you're like, you know what the hell's out there. You're fine. Calm down. But, yeah, definitely. It's a very reactive. I think that's very important to look at things objectively. That's also just one of the hardest things to do, because I feel like right away I always want to react with emotion. I want to just like wear the heart on the sleeve, be right there, feel as much as you can. I happen to be with a person who I feel like is the opposite of that in many ways, so it's caused me to rethink my tactics and how I would usually deal with, I think, conflict in the past, because whereas I might have dated actresses who love shouting matches or like, you know, the 2 a.m., oh, you know what, another thing and another thing, she wouldn't feed it. She would just go, I'm gonna peace out right now. Why don't you deal with it? And then I'd be like, what?
I love it.
You don't have to do all of this.
It's this bullshit. Yeah, totally.
This facade, like, just talk what you want to talk about. Just like, because when you, you know, get just, it's like, I'm not going to deal with you. And it made me kind of go, oh, wow. Like I had to kind of change. I feel like I changed a lot of certain things in my life because she made me better, because I wasn't allowed to do my old crap. It didn't work anymore. The old bag of tricks were gone. Mm-hmm. So I offer that to people out there. If you find yourself going after the same person, maybe again and again, I don't know, find someone who gives you a different answer, like, or something that you're not used to, because then I feel like when you have to change, when you have to grow, you kind of start looking back at what you used to do and you're like, I was an idiot. Like, why was I even?
I know, right? Yeah. Same here.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm an actress too, so I like screaming matches, and I grew up with a screaming match person. You know, it's like,
you're from Argentina.
I'm Latina. I'm 3/4 Italian. You know, that's my heritage.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah. So of course,
you were born.
Yeah. Being loud and screaming is like an everyday thing, but not cool.
Not. You're trying to have a well-adjusted relationship. So, the guy you were with before, I'm gonna call him sleeping with the enemy.
I love that.
Yeah, that could be next chapter.
That's great.
I give ideas to every guest, Grace. That's yours.
Thank you.
So, how long did that last? How long did that whole thing, from beginning to end? What was it?
Exactly 3 years, 2009 to 2012. And it was, wow. Now, don't get me wrong. When it was magical, it was incredible. But
absolutely,
those moments were like getting fewer and more in between. You know, it was more like, let's say 3 days of bliss and then 4 days of torture, you know, and then 2 days of bliss and 5 days of torture, you know, and then torture. And it's like you engage in that energy and that vibe, you know, and the anger and the fear. And it's just, you feel like I told him at some point, you won. And I was like, why am I telling him that? Mm-hmm. Because he defeated me, because I was, you know, first I was fighting. I was getting to his level and fighting with the anger and the fear. And then it's like, you know, you won, because I really am tired of this bullshit and just fighting and triggering you without me knowing what I did, you know, because if I trigger someone and they tell me, please don't do that or don't say that because it triggers me, then I'll be like, oh, cool, no problem. And with this dude, it was like anything could trigger him. My curly hair could trigger him. And I'll be like, what the fuck? That's my hair. You know?
That's it.
There's nothing I can do about it. So
I hope he had a sister.
A sister, him.
Just someday, if I want to take a trip through hell.
Exactly.
Never start with this family.
Yeah, right. Well, he was much older than me too, so I'm not gonna say anymore because people are gonna know.
Got it.
He was an actor too, so drama.
Well, Grace, you're here now, and you're doing well, and you're quite lovely. So
thank you. I appreciate it.
Of course. All right, so we got some bad dates there. We obviously heard about some red flags, which brings us to our next segment here. Red flags. And how does red flags work, you might ask? Well, I have these handy dandy little cards, Grace, and I'm going to read you 3 red flags. Now, typically, you might have a different answer for which one you're not going to deal with, but I want to put this under the microscope now, or through the view of quarantine. Which one of these are you not going to put up with for 1 second in quarantine? Is a revenge porn mogul. Might be interesting. Maybe you can do some stuff with exes that have been. This one might be fun. Swears they're 18. You don't tell, I won't. And for as long as you date them, all your friends will hate you. Now, keep in mind, this is during quarantine, so you probably wouldn't be seeing many of your friends anyway. But we have, for as long as you date them, all your friends will hate you. Swears they're 18, jailbait, and is a revenge porn mogul. Ah, fantastic. Clearly a feminist. Which one is just not gonna jive with you for quarantine?
You know, the swears they're 18, because if they're not, and I would never even date an 18-year-old, you know.
Really?
So,
I went on a couple dates once with an 18-year-old just to
you
see
did?
just to see what it was like. I get why people do it.
Yeah.
Because they're very young and impressionable, and they want to please you. There's no conflict really. There's no real relationship. You don't have a partner. You just have someone that is, I would say, I didn't mean to do this. I don't think anyone does. But when you're older, it's much easier to manipulate the situation because you've been around more and you know how things go. When you're younger, you just feel cool that you're at the big kids table, to, you know, use that old pun. So you kind of just want to do whatever so that you're there. But after a while, you're like, this isn't, I just feel skeezy. It's not even, it's not, but again, okay, so swears they're 18. You're not going to deal with that in quarantine.
No.
That's not going to
never, not even in non-quarantine. I'm not.
What's the youngest you would consider dating? You said 27 before.
Probably, well, he was kind of like that 18-year-old, you know, kind of like would do anything. And
yeah,
that's kind of weird to me.
It's only fun to hook up. You can't really have a relationship. That's only
no, yeah.
Like create some stuff that you've always wanted to do that, you know, your ex didn't want to do. And then, you know, find the 18-year-old.
Yeah.
But then that's where it ends.
Check, right?
Yeah, check. All right, I did it.
Bye, bitch. Thank you for everything. Yeah.
There's something emotional here. I'm not feeling very good. Yeah, you know.
Yeah.
But
yeah, probably the lowest age would be 35, I would think, because I feel like men kind of start maturing. So yeah, 35 would be the lowest I would go.
Okay. Well, by your calculations, then I have one more year before I start to become really mature and smart. I look forward to that. And next time, in case if I'm having an argument with the fiance, I'll just say, hey, according to Grace, 35 is when everything's going to pick up. Just bear with me. Just go with me on this journey. You know,
that's great.
So something like that. Beautiful. Well, next up, we have a version of F, Marry, Kill that we like to call Date, Dump, Divorce, because why not? So Date, Dump, Divorce, I'm going to give you three guys. And because you're a relationship expert, I picked famous exes from TV. So I don't want you to consider the actor. I actually want you to consider the character. Okay. Which of these guys would you date, dump, divorce? First one, Ross from Friends, famous ex. Next up, you ever watch Gilmore Girls? Luke, another ex.
I never watch it.
Oh, well, Luke is basically this mid-40-something guy who, let's see, he owns a diner. He always wears like a baseball cap and a plaid shirt. He's good with fixing stuff. He's sweet, but in the end, he ruined his relationship because he focused on his new daughter that he didn't know about, and he didn't focus on his bride-to-be, and they fell apart because he was trying to, I think, just burn the candle at both ends family-wise, and he could only put his attention one place, and it went to his daughter. So that's Luke. And then finally, Michael Scott, of course, from The Office, portrayed by the wonderful Steve Carell, just the doofus boss of nowhere. So you have your Ross Geller, you have Luke from Gilmore Girls, and you have Michael Scott. You got to date one, you got to divorce one, and you got to dump the other.
Oh, damn.
Take your time. There's no right answer.
I would date the Gilmore Girls guy because I kind of like that he's busy and focusing on his daughter.
Yeah.
So because I am very busy, so it wouldn't be somebody that'd be like, oh, you know, I can't see you and I'm so upset. You know, it's like once or twice a week, I'm good. I'll see you, you know, so I'll date him. Dump. Probably Ross. He kind of gets on my nerves. And
annoying, especially in the earlier seasons. I feel like he was so funny towards the end, but he'd be kind of annoying, you know?
Yeah.
Ross always has to be right.
Yeah.
He's always got to correct you, and he's kind of condescending. So I feel like he would go, well, Grace, actually, the real, and you'd be like, all right, come on.
Yeah, like, no, forget it. I don't have time for that shit. No.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah. And the office guy, I'd probably marry a goofy person like that.
Oh yeah, divorce him.
And then divorce him. Yeah.
Scott.
Yeah. Probably. That's probably my younger self would marry somebody like that and then divorce him.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, I think Michael Scott would be fun. He's a good.
Yeah, he would be fun.
But that'd be a great divorce. He'd be just a great. He'd probably have Dwight, you know, be his lawyer. He'd try to do shit and stuff. And then, yeah. Oh, that'd be absolutely fantastic. So, Grace, right now, obviously, I'm going to tell everybody after this to go out and get your book. But what do you tell to prospective people who are looking for things to read right now? They're looking to better their lives. They suddenly have a lot more free time on their hands. Why specifically go to Love at First X? Why is this the thing that people, men and women, should check out right now? I loved it. To me, it really helped calm like the older voice in my head that was super insecure and just running around and trying to be so busy that he couldn't stop and actually focus on what he wanted to do. But what's your take on it, and why do you tell people to pick it up, especially now?
Well, with the quarantine, I think people can change the lifestyle, because if you're living with someone, then you realize I get along great or I can't stand this person. You know, we're not, because you're like all together all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I would say if you are thinking about breaking up, yes, my book is going to help you make a decision. And also, if you break up, it kind of guides, my book guides you through the steps, you know, like you're about to break up, different styles of breakup. You're in the middle of the breakup. What is the best way to do things, and what is not a good way to do things. I have a lot of do's and don'ts in the book.
So that's actually good, because it's like Whitney Cummings said on her podcast, I think like 2 or 3 weeks ago, she's like, I got a lot of people writing in about their relationship, or they're fighting a lot more and they want to know. And she's like, so you're probably going to break up. She's like, a lot of people are breaking up right now. Yeah. They weren't counting on this, or, you know, they were just living together for a few months and this freaking curveball's thrown at them. And they're like, fuck this. I'm going to go, you know, I'm going to move back home with my parents or try something for a little bit. But yeah, I think a lot of people have reached, it's bad enough you're dealing with the pandemic. It's bad enough you don't know if your job is going to be here or not, where your next paycheck's going to come from, but to also have the realization that, oh shit, I got to break up with this person. Like I'm really with the wrong person. Now, granted, maybe you're doing it now. Maybe you're doing it before, like, you know, there's kids and there's like, you know, joint checking accounts and everything's really, you know, linked together. But yeah, that I didn't even, you give so much advice about breaking up. That's absolutely on point.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah. So if you're, you know, thinking about breaking up or you're going to do it, my book is going to really help you, for real. Absolutely. I wrote it after 2 breakups. I had a breakup with that guy we talked about. And then I had my rebound guy, who's a really cool guy, and we're still friends. And we dated for about 10 months. He was the perfect rebound guy. He was, you know, super chill and very non-emotional, reactive. So he really helped me through that. You know, having a good rebound actually is really good. I highly recommend it. Rebounds, people are like, oh no, don't get into rebound. Yes, actually it is good. And sometimes you can develop a relationship, you know. Yeah. But so I wrote this book after 2 breakups and I was heartbroken. So I really got inside my soul, and I was, you know, just what worked, what didn't work, what should I do, what I shouldn't do. So I really wrote it from a place of realness. I mean, it's as raw and real as it can be.
I have actually a quick question for you. I had a really good friend who he was an old work buddy of mine, and there was a female coworker, and she was with a guy that she was dating for many years. And my friend just pined away for her, just was waiting for this relationship to end. And lo and behold, it finally did end. She was done. She breaks it off. And he was chomping at the bit to get in there. And they were kind of having this flirty energy going around. And everyone said, they're like, don't go in right now. Like, just she's been like off the market for 3 years. Let her, just have some meaningless sex with people and just relax and go to the beach. And like, don't go in right now. And he went in, and they had like this 2-week, just completely exploded, blew up. At first it was amazing, and then it just died. And then they've never talked again. So I'm curious, because your rebound works so well, why is that?
I think because he knew he was a rebound and he accepted it. And I would call him like at 2 a.m. sometimes. I called him once at 2 a.m. I knew he was awake, right? And crying because my ex was already dating somebody. Yeah, I was dating, but I was heartbroken that he was dating somebody that he met while he was with me. And so he listened to me and he was there for me. And that's, I think, why it worked for me. And for him, I'm sure I gave him a lot of things that he was looking for at the time. So it really worked. We didn't really fight, and we just got along. We still, like I said, we're still friends, and we managed to remain friends and not be mad at each other or have hard feelings. So sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. It depends on the person and the chemistry.
That's interesting. You said keyword, he knew he was the rebound. I'm pretty sure my friend was hoping he would be Prince Charming. So hence, there's your answer. Fantastic. Well, I want to say a quick couple things here before I ask you one more question. First off, just a little plug. As some of you know, I work at this wonderful handy dandy theater where I happen to meet my future wife, the Geffen Playhouse, and they have this amazing show right now, The Present, with Helder Guimaraes. It's a magic show done via Zoom. Just like if you have Zoom, you can see this show. It's absolutely brilliant. They send you a mystery box to your home, and you get to participate and be a part of the magic. And Helder, it's literally like you're in the room with him because he's doing stuff with you. It is so cool. I just want to recommend it to everybody. They just extended it through August. If you're looking for a date to do, maybe you're talking to someone and you want to have like a first date experience, but you're not quite comfortable meeting in person yet, get tickets for this show. It's selling out. It's literally selling out so fast. But The Present, Helder Guimaraes, can't say enough. Absolutely love it. And I think anyone out there, if you're looking for something different, if you're looking for a way to stay connected, magic somehow makes me feel great. Like my fiance is always, we're talking a lot about Harry Potter right now. I don't know why. When things are kind of grim, magic just makes everything a little better. Number two, just want to say a quick shout out to one of my favorite ladies in the world ever of all time, my mom, because it's her birthday today. Happy birthday, Mom. I love you so much. You're in Cleveland, Ohio. I hope you're having a giant jug of Chardonnay and enjoying time with Dad. Just want to say happy birthday, and I look forward to seeing you and hugging you again very soon, hopefully. And yes, on top of that, Grace, one last question here for you.
Yeah.
If you, let's say there's a room, right? Like we're in the TV show Lost, and there's a room that you can enter in, and you're going to come face to face with your 18-year-old self. Ooh. You have 90 seconds. What do you tell her?
Stop thinking you're ugly and fat. Stop having low self-esteem. Value yourself, know your value. That's not being egotistical, that's being realistic and knowing what you bring to the table in any type of relationship. Continue to be intelligent and question things. Never accept anything anybody tells you as the truth. Always keep reading and researching anything that is causing you to doubt. If you have doubts about anything, just use your brain and your heart and figure it out. 90 seconds. Okay, keep working out, girl, because let me tell you, your body's going to go to shit. Okay. If you think you're ugly and fat now, you watch when you get to be my age. Okay. Trust.
Stop it. You're beautiful, Grace. You're beautiful. And I won't hear otherwise on my show.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Eat healthy, exercise. That's the key to a clean body and a clean soul, I think. Always vibrate on love, peace, and joy. Don't engage in anger and fear. Elevate yourself from anger and fear, and just even love your enemies. That's the biggest lesson in life, I think, to love your enemies. That's the hardest shit to do, but you can do it.
Jeez. I'm going to need some time for that last one, Grace, but I really appreciate it.
I know. It took me a long time.
Oof. Maybe in the next decade. All right. Well, Grace Fraga, your book is Love at First X. And what are your handles? Where can people find you? What do you have coming out that you want people to check out?
Sure. They can follow me on Facebook. I have a page. I'm maxed out on the friends. So Grace Fraga, just my name. Then I have a book website, a page that's Love at First X by Grace Fraga. I have like what I call love drops, and I always drop some advice on love. On Twitter, it's Grace Fraga, and my handle on IG is Grace Fraga Comedy.
Beautiful. Grace Fraga, I want to thank you very much for being an absolutely wonderful guest today.
Thank you.
I would just like to end this show the way I end all of them, just with a little quote about love.
I love it.
Here we go. Dating is getting woken up at 6 a.m. by your fire alarm and tripping over yourself barefoot as you try and grab the cat and leave as soon as possible. Dating in LA, same thing, only the fire department leaves after they say there's no fire, but your fire alarm keeps blaring the rest of the day. May or may not be based on actual events. Ladies and gentlemen, Grace Fraga has been my guest today. This is Horribly Hollywood Single. I am Adam Carr, reminding you all, stay horrible, stay single. Hey, we don't judge.
Our founder, Kevin Undergaro, and me, Maria Menounos, would like to thank you for tuning in to AfterBuzz TV. Remember, we're not just the first, we're the biggest in the world, and we're the only destination for all your favorite TV shows. Whatever you crave, we've got it. So go to AfterBuzzTV.com and check out our lineup. Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.